Good morning, afternoon or evening, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for what is going to be a rather important daily market update. Of course, last night we did do a bit of an emergency live stream. We weren't expecting to do one. Of course, was at home, as many of you noticed. However, we're going to be sort of picking up from where we left off last night. We're going to be looking at the markets generally. We're going to be assessing the damage. It was rather a red day yesterday on the back of the Iran-Israel sort of escalation. And the question that we have to ask ourselves as people that are positioned for what we think is going to be an epic time in the cryptocurrency market over the next year or so is, does this change that plan? And we're going to be putting on the armor of technical analysis to help us decipher that in this video. Straight off the bat, just so that nobody's alarmed and in suspense, we are still long the market. And actually, I have bought this dip. I bought one of our crypto miners. And today I'm going to be buying a number of cryptocurrency. If you want to find out what they are, do consider becoming a Patreon. But I ultimately think this should be taken advantage of, not seen as a directional changing event for the markets. We think the markets are in very good standing. And technically, when we look at the markets on the short term, we've got lots of short-term targets to the upside. And I don't think this throws them off course. Of course, we'll be assessing the damage of Bitcoin. Rather red day, hence the background. But we've got a hell of a lot to get into. We also had news that Bitwise filed for a XRP ETF. Of all days, why yesterday? However, we're going to cover it all in this daily market update. Really important things to take a look at. The CME launched a Bitcoin product yesterday that was their best product thus far. But let's kick the video off and let's start off with what took place yesterday. Obviously, Iran launched missiles into Israel. We've seen that once already this year. There was news that they had kind of came out and declared a state of war. We're not going to go into or try to become a geopolitical commentator in regards to that situation. The only thing I will say on it is whenever innocent people are losing lives on both sides of the equation, there's always two sides to every story. It is a tragedy, and this, of course, is nothing short of that. So this, of course, was the news. We got some private payrolls coming in just now, and of course, you know, there's things happening in Lebanon. There's an escalation of this. This, of course, isn't great for markets. We see Lockheed Martin, which is a military-industrial complex stock, doing very well into this. We saw the dollar be strong yesterday, almost like people knew that something was going to come. And that's why we're technical analysts, because we think people protect their money. And if they're privy to insider information, we'll move it and position accordingly based on the events that are set to unfold. Certainly, I would say somebody knew something was coming in regards to how Lockheed Martin and the dollar was sort of showing a little bit of strength yesterday. And of course, we've still got quite a volatile week ahead of us. We do have non-farm payrolls towards the end of the week. We have some private payroll data coming in today within the US in the form of ADPs. Payrolls show better than expected growth of 143,000 jobs in September. We'll see what non-farm payrolls are. It's an acceleration from 103 in August and 128, which is pretty significant. So we need to watch those labour market stats. Our picture, this news, this event, this escalation, it's not my opinion. Whenever you have things like this, people always want it to be the worst possible outcome. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's through a lack of... let's not speculate on that. But there's always people that want to escalate. The word World War III or the words World War III get thrown around all the time. I don't think that is this. I think if anything's going to maybe spur that on, it is that particular region. It's very much a kind of explosive area. However, I don't think that this is that, if that makes sense. I think this is just what we see and have seen a lot of. I don't think this is going to lead to escalation. We'll talk about technically why we don't think that's the case. When we look at the likes of, and I highlighted this report in yesterday's live stream, this is obviously from BlackRock. Now, BlackRock were looking at Bitcoin as a unique diversifier. They're essentially making the argument that Bitcoin is a risk-off asset, not risk-on. However, I believe Bitcoin moves with risk-on. But what it was designed to do was perhaps be against the system. But because the system itself, by the very people that published this article, have sort of monetized it, it gets treated like a risk-on asset. But there is a good argument to suggest that if you had problems with one single economy, Bitcoin would be a hedge against that, certainly in regards to the deflation or the strength of their currency. And what BlackRock are highlighting here is major geopolitical events like the US-Iran escalation in 2020, January 2020, the March 2020 events that saw us all go into lockdown, and the US elections, Russia invasion of Ukraine, US regional banking crisis, and yen carry trade, Bitcoin has a remarkable effect or remarkable resilience in regards to rebounding and outperforming markets off the back end of this. They're almost suggesting that it does well on these geopolitical events. And I think we're going to see the same thing take place. Of course, Uptober has been prophesized. Not a great start. However, I still think you're going to see Uptober, and I think this could be the very catalyst that sees that take place. We don't believe escalation is on the cards. Certainly when we look at Bitcoin, we'll come to the large time frame in just a second on the smaller time frames. You can see this really puts it into perspective. This is what we mean by putting the armor of technical analysis on. When you look at the charts, they paint a very different picture from a lot of CT and a lot of the comment sections out there. And the reason that they're like that is because most people don't understand technical analysis. This is painting a very different picture to the doom and gloom that we're currently getting. Of course, it isn't a great event, but I think you're going to recover out of this. You know, we've got that small target for Bitcoin that takes you to 84K. We've got lots of broader targets. We still think you've done rather well. We think this is just a pullback in what is a broader uptrend. On the macro, there's lots of technical confluence, one being that you're in an uptrend, and then we have 3 technical patterns. We also have that smaller technical pattern. When we look at the SPY, if this was going to be a full-blown escalation, would the SPY be setting up for continuation? My answer is no. Smarter money moves markets, and smarter money is privy to insider information. So can technical analysis predict geopolitical events and whether they're going to escalate or not? I would say based on what we're looking at technically, they're not going to escalate. Now, could I be wrong 100%? Let's take a look at the US 100. I need to pull the screen back on me now. Again. We're not bearish here. We think this is just one of them events where liquidity just gets called upon and crypto takes quite a beating as a result of it. But like I say, I'm buying this ultimately in preparation for Bitcoin's targets to get made and the total cryptocurrency market to go in the direction that we think it is. We've got lots of technical patterns on Bitcoin. We've got lots of technical patterns in regards to the overall space, whether that be total 3. I think this is just a retest of a flag that you broke out of. You know, look at total 2. I think you're just coming back to the midline. Certainly if we're looking at the total cryptocurrency market, which we think is very much in a flag-esque structure, we don't think there's anything to worry about here whatsoever. Something like NEAR got hit really hard yesterday. Hang in there, guys. When we look at the charts, the damage report, technically, we don't think it's such a negative picture. Let's cover a little bit of negative news, but let's start on some positive one in regards to sort of crypto products. Justin, world's first futures exchange, CME Group, launched Bitcoin Friday futures yesterday. It was their most successful crypto product launch ever. We had news, of course, that we saw a number of outflows in regards to ETFs, barring, of course, BlackRock, which saw inflows of 40 million. And Ethereum had its worst day on record in regards to outflows since the launch. Again, I think it has a lot to do with this. I think when there's a potential catalyst for, you know, when there's any kind of a, markets are very much drama queens. When there's any kind of an event that takes place that could have negative repercussions, people will hedge their bets as a result of that until there's de-escalation, then you see things rocking and rolling. And that's genuinely what I think is going to happen with the current situation. Let's talk about some absolutely colossal news yesterday that probably came out at not such a great time, and that is in regards to Bitwise now filing for an XRP ETF. We do believe, actually, if you look at who's probably next in line for an ETF due to the regulatory clarity and the loss to the SEC that may need to make up for that, XRP is likely going to be the next one to get an ETF. Either that or Solana. Both, I think, are going to end. I think there's going to be multiple, but you know, we do believe XRP is going to do very, very well this cycle. I think an ETF is going to play probably a small role in it. I think there's going to be a number of other reasons why it does well, but certainly in regards to institutional investors gaining access to it. XRP is the 4th held asset in regards to institutional asset managers. So this was huge news. It's unfortunate that it came out on a day like yesterday. But again, what we've just done is we've put on the armor of technical analysis and we've looked at where things generally are. You know, you're still up from where you were 10, 20 days ago. You know, despite this, the question on everyone's mind, and I think there'll be a little bit of heading as a result of this, is are we going to see that escalation? We'd say the markets aren't positioned as if that's the optimal scenario or the main scenario, and that's not our bias on things. We ultimately think the markets are in good standing. Yes, this is a very unfortunate event, certainly for those of people who are involved. However, we don't think it's going to result in the worst case scenario, which people instantly go to every time there's any kind of a conflict. You know, it's always the end of the world. Those people won't make any money in markets, I'm afraid. Timing is everything. You need to be in it to win it. Our overall view on the cryptocurrency space is very much unchanged. We still think you've got a good October, November, rest of the year into next ahead of us. And let's all pay attention to what's coming around the corner. But we just wanted to get on, do a very quick update, quick daily market update, looking at everything. Don't panic, guys. When we look at the charts, they paint a very different picture from what the sentiment might be right now. And we don't believe that this is going to lead to all-out escalation, based, of course, technically on what we're looking at. And we think we're still in very good standings in regards to the direction the cryptocurrency market is about to embark on this month, next, end of this year, into the following. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. Have a wonderful Wednesday, and I'll see you all in the next one.